Hello and welcome to the first Clyde FC Podcast. My name is Paul Shanks and with me I have John Boyce. Boycey, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
And Nick Troy. Nick, yourself?
How you doing? Well? I'm alright, how are you?
Yeah, good. We're trying this. Hopefully it's going to be a fortnightly gig, as long as people want to hear my dulcet tones and my good friends here. So we're basically just going to talk about Clyde, the one subject that we all love. And it's at a good time because we have football back on the agenda, guys. We actually have competitive football very, very close.
So excited.
It is. It's like Christmas, but better because it's football and it's Clyde. We're looking at football after 5,208 hours, 217 days if you want, or 31 weeks, depending on what currency you want. We are on the verge of competitive football, as I say. We're looking ahead to facing Dumbarton, who ironically were the team that we last pitted our wits against prior to, certain issues in the world that created a bit of a lockdown. You may have heard of that. So, gents, first thoughts on the game tomorrow?
So, I think Dumbarton, they've had quite a few ins. Nat Weatherburn from Airdrie. They've strengthened their backline with Sam Wardrop and their danger man, I feel, Denny Johnston. Their main out, Joe McKee, player very close to my heart in Football Manager. Paul, you know all about that game.
Yeah.
He, great player. So I think him going to Queen of the South is a big miss for them. I think the squad, they've been doing okay pre-season. I don't know if you guys have seen their pre-season games.
Dumbarton's? No, I have not. I have, I'm afraid.
They've been trying out a few formations. They've had a 3-2 win over Albion Rovers. A 1-each draw with BSC Glasgow. And I think on paper we might have this. What do you think, Nick?
It's not a squad that terrifies me, to be fair. I think we've strengthened a lot better. And I think the loss of Joe McKee is quite integral there. I was looking on their website, and I don't know if their website's up to date, but their squad did seem like quite threadbare. So if they've strengthened that, I don't know whether they've just not updated that, but it doesn't look as if they've got the manpower.
I think the last time I had a look, it was about 15, 16 signed players. Now, granted, I think we're only maybe 2 more than that. And we've got 3 keepers, I think, listed in our squad. But it does seem to be relatively thin on the ground. Again, that could be to our benefit, hopefully. No offence to any Dumbarton fan that's tuned in. Obviously we'll kind of touch a bit more on the kind of player turnover, but as far as how we see us facing up to the challenge in Dumbarton, do we have I know we've not had a whole load of oversight in pre-season as we would maybe normally. How much you can buy into the pre-season results, but some impressive enough scorelines. We've only conceded 1, scored plentiful. I think it's
14, I believe.
Thank you, Boycey, for the assist. And it was like an Ali Love assist there. That was great. Good save. So there's definite positive signs in where we are, I should say. But yes, it's looking at the first 11. How are we thinking? What do you see Danny going with?
So it is difficult to choose, Paul, because we've only really seen highlights from the games. Obviously, we've not been at them. So I think from all reports and these highlights, I think we've had a few incoming players that will make that starting 11. For me, I think the main ones will be...
Oh, so are we going to name our 11? Are we going in?
I'm just going to name some key players, I think, that are going to...
Commitment.
that are going to come in.
Let's do it.
So I think one Thomas Lang, big handsome. I think he'll come into that starting.
I think that's a no-brainer, I would say. We're recording this just a few days after the Friday night news, which
I think I've just came back off the ceiling.
Yeah, I don't think there was a Clyde fan that read that news and went, I think every last one of us was quite rightfully bouncing. I think there seems to be a magnetism between ourselves and Tom, and long may it continue, because if we can keep him at the club, it can only benefit us. He's a cracking defender. There seems to be a real relationship between him and the fans as well, which brings out the best in both, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's critical in any club these days. You've got to have that love with the fans, and it just drives them on more on the pitch. You know?
Yeah, no, I would agree. Completely agree.
I think it is really a coup as well. I don't understand how he didn't.
Yeah,
stunning.
It is exceptional. Like, I don't know how he didn't get the opportunity at Dunfermline. I think they've missed a trick massively there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're not going to tell other teams' managers what to do, but do you know what? And I don't think a single Clyde fan will disagree and say their loss is absolutely our game.
So a shout out to Dunfermline.
Thank you, Stevie Crawford. So is there any others in the incoming players that you guys maybe want to highlight and wax lyrical about, not just Tom?
Cunningham, I think, is the obvious other. He was fantastic last season, and he seems to have hit the ground running this season, like pre-season. Anyway.
Yeah, when we signed him at the time, it was... I don't hope I'm not talking out of turn, but it seemed bizarre that Hamilton were releasing him, considering at the time he was their joint top goal scorer, and I think he remained that, even though he was on loan at ourselves for 3 months. It would have been half the season. Phenomenal talent, still very young. I know, Boycey, you absolutely love Ross Cunningham.
Yeah, I mean, when that news broke that he was coming on loan, I couldn't believe it. Thought it was an unbelievable signing, even to get him for such a short space of time, because as you've mentioned, he was, I believe, joint top scorer in the Hamilton SPL outfit, and again, thank you, Hamilton.
I hope this isn't just going to be a thank you ever to the rest of Scottish football, but Nick, is there any others you want to call out?
Well, I think that Bain is an interesting signing.
Yeah.
Obviously, Forfar didn't have the best season last year, but I think with a lot of signings, really, for one of the first times I felt I could seriously, I trust everything that the manager's doing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think that Danny has obviously proved it. With not every signing has worked out, but I think Bain is one that could, like, he's got the experience there.
It's one you know what you're going to get.
And it's something I kind of touched upon, actually. I think there'll be maybe a couple of lines in my programme thing I wrote this week, but he's got a vast amount of experience in this league in particular. He's done great for Airdrie, and you say Forfar didn't have a great season, but when you read up online, and you've got to take a lot of what fans say about ex-players with a pinch of salt sometimes. Not a single Forfar fan had a bad word to say about Jamie. He seems to be very much a Ron Seal player. What you see is what you get. You know what you're going to get from him. Complete commitment. He's apparently just constant up and down that wing.
Yeah, he's an engine.
Yes, engine.
I've watched him a few times when Airdrie have been playing, and he does get up and down that right hand side, and he's got a good delivery as well.
Yeah,
so he'll contribute to that side of our game as well.
Yeah, that's maybe something that I've personally felt is lacked at times. Is the delivery can be lacking from open play, at least. And when you have obviously the firepower we have, if you get the ball in the box to David Goodwillie, you know what's going to be the outcome. A stunning finish indeed. So if we can improve on that area going forward, I mean, it's I think we've got so many different weapons that are that we can put in a team. It's certainly exciting. I think this is going to be a high scoring team this year. I don't know. I've just got this feeling that this team we could see some high scoring games, 4-3s. Who knows? Hopefully some 4-0s in our favour. But
yeah, I mean, I'm hoping with the new substitution rule as well. 5 subs we can get. We've got good depth in the forward line with Goody, Norway, Josh Jack, and Ali Love as well. So getting all them on the park.
Yeah, obviously talking on you mentioned the boys from St Mirren as well. You've got a couple of lone boys. Obviously they mentioned from St Mirren. We've also got Matthew Shields from Rangers. How do you guys see the younger guys fitting in the setup? Obviously you've got Lloyd Robertson as well, I should add. Kind of more defensive minded midfielder from what we're hearing. Do you see these guys getting instant game time ahead of maybe the more experienced squad?
For me, Paul, they're coming in from a good level. They're coming in from Rangers, St Mirren, SPL standard. On the 2 St Mirren lone boys, they've been training with the first team, St Mirren team. And, by all accounts, they've been ranked very highly in their ranks. So for us to get them on loan again, seen as a bit of a coup. And just think it's going to be a very good partnership both for them and for us, because you've got Danny Lennon, especially for the younger boys, who can be that nurturing type of manager who will bring the best out of them, as we've seen in the last few seasons. So and coming as a young player, you've got that enthusiasm as well, so they'll want to improve and want to show their parent club. Yeah,
and I think in every position that the players that we've brought in, that they do seem to have a mentor. Most of the positions, I would say, that have a kind of mentor. So obviously you've got David Goodwillie, who has an abundance of experience north and south of the border. He scored a winning goal, in a Scottish Cup final. He's scored against the world champions for Scotland at the time. So he has plenty to be able to offer these guys in the way of advice. And guys like Ali Love will be able to pass on a wealth of experience. He's been about the game a wee while. Maybe not say to how long, in case he chases us.
Keep that.
Yeah, so I think there's been a good blend. I don't know if you guys would agree, a good blend of the players being brought in. Perhaps not maybe the names instantly that people go, you instantly know who they are, but as you say, John, the guys that I've brought in have came and been training with first team at St Mirren. We're going to be missing one of them for international duty, and that doesn't happen too often at Clyde these days, sadly.
It does not.
I'll let somebody with more historical knowledge pass on any information of when that last time that actually happened. So moving back then to our first 11s, slightly sidetracked there. Nick, do you want to go first? What have you got? Will we do formations? You can do formations. Channel your inner Danny or Alan.
Well, I've redrafted about 4 or 5 times, but I've eventually decided.
I hope Danny's a bit more settled than that.
I mean, that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
I'm looking at it as a good thing.
Yeah,
positive outlook.
Miss the positivity after all.
But I was thinking a 4-5-1 formation with McNiff at left back, and I've not seen Shields play.
Yeah.
Whereas I know, I don't want to. I can't comment on what I think of Shields.
That's the kind of difficult position we're in at the moment. We can't really say based on any major evidence other than the players we know. Obviously, the tried and tested, the guys that have got us to where we're at just now, and the more experienced boys. But sorry, on you go.
I put McNiff. I feel like you know what you're getting with McNiff. McNiff's been a servant of the club, and he's done quite a lot, shall we say, from that left back position. So I was thinking a back line of McNiff, Lang, Rumsby and Bain.
I like the Rumsby pick.
Yeah, of course you do.
I'm a major Rumsby fan as well. Obviously, Howie, like that is again the difficulty this year is that we have a wealth of talent at the back.
Oh, with the addition of Lan, it just gets a bit. It's great. It's really great. I mean, you're throwing Howie, who would probably. I mean, I think he's had a knock, a kind of head knock in one of the pre-season ties.
I believe it was a facial injury of some sort.
So I don't know if there's been an update on that until now. Hopefully that's nothing serious, and we do get him back. But yeah, there's plenty of options in that backline, as you say, Nick. Moving on to midfield, what have we got?
I've got Cunningham out on the left. I think, like, as we've already discussed, Cunningham is just is one of the first names on the team sheet for me. I've got Lamont in there as well. I thought Lamont towards the end of last season was fantastic. I think he's been fantastic for like a number of years now. I would also give him a bit more like freedom of movement. I wouldn't necessarily have him in that sort of like central midfield role. I'd probably have him getting further in behind Goodwillie a lot more. But I think he's also got that ability to track back. And
what I love about wee Monty is we like to call him, is he can play like a man possessed. Especially see if we're up against it, maybe against a quote unquote higher opposition. Like the Falkirk games are probably
Falkirk.
Yeah, the Falkirk games, I think that's all I need to say. Any Clyde fan will know exactly what I'm talking about. He played like a man possessed. He just the work rate and no lack of skill and ability in there as well. And just maybe sometimes you want to see that if you got that out of him every game. I mean, what a player you have. But yeah, some of the games where we maybe trailed by a couple of goals, a lot of the time you can pinpoint it on the work rate that he puts in the middle of the park. And as I say, I think he's an understated passer of the ball.
Undoubtedly.
At times.
Yep.
I think it can go unnoticed. He can be sloppy, but do you know what? He's a footballer. No, they don't. They're not all Chavies. They're not going to hit 100% patch rates week in, week out. So, Monty, big fan.
Yeah, and on what you were saying, Nick, about giving him a free roll, I would 100% agree with that. I think anytime we've seen him kind of show his creative side, I think he's been that player to unlock Goody through the middle. So I think that's how we can really hurt teams as well. Just incisive passing through the middle, quick passing in midfield, and get it to Goody. And for me, I feel that Lamont's that player that will be able to get that job done.
And and it's likely that Cunningham's going to be up there as well.
It's unbelievable. What a forward line! I can't quite believe it.
That's why I said if we get it right going forward, there'll be games where we can blow teams away. And we've had Goody now up front for a good few years. And obviously the promotion season was fantastic, and there were games where we could have really punished teams more than what we did. It just maybe didn't quite get to that stage. It was maybe there was enough service, but if you got more, you're going to get an insane level of goals. One player as well up front, I don't know if you've got him in your starting lineups, is obviously big Chris Sivertson of Norway, which is easy to say with a dry mouth. Big Norway getting obviously back to full fitness, hopefully. Really see how he's going to fare in League One. Any thoughts on that? Yeah,
I think I've been excited for him to come into League One because he did the job in League Two really well. You know, you could see that he was fluid, he could beat a player, and then coming into League One, I think the football in League Two, it's very hoofball, as Paul likes to say sometimes.
I've been known,
yeah. And coming up to League One, there's that passing style that every team tries to play. Yeah. And I think that suits his game really well.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think he would just go on leaps and bounds. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, he's had his injury concerns. I believe he's had a small niggle.
Yeah, I think that's the last update was that there was a slight niggle, and I don't think he played the last couple of, or at least the Broadwood Cup matches.
Yeah.
I think it was just maybe or hopefully a precautionary measure, and we do see him at least this weekend.
Yeah.
In some capacity, because he was a big miss last year, especially. I think it was at the Queen's Park in the League Cup game in July, and then that was him.
Yeah,
he was out, and it meant we were pretty short on options. We obviously went through that horrific injury list where obviously Danny had to get the old boots out the cupboard and take a place in the bench for some games,
now,
not just the Glasgow Cup.
Let's be honest, who would like to see that again?
And let's get a fundraiser on the go. If we can raise enough through the fans just to get Danny named on the bench just once, maybe make a wee fleeting appearance towards the end of the game.
Let's make history. Let's make it happen.
Can do it once the title's wrapped up. That's when we'll.
That's the positivity we're looking for.
Shall we say January?
We're 20 minutes into the podcast and we're talking the titles. This is great. Loving it.
What could go wrong?
A wise man once said it's the hope that kills you, and sometimes with Clyde that can really come to.
I mean, talking of hope in pre-season, doing a wee bit of research, and I was reminded of the pre-season game against Hibs.
Yeah.
In 2008. Now,
you might want to switch off now, guys. Just there's not a happy memory coming up, I don't feel.
Mixu Patalainen brought his Hibs team to Cumbernauld, and well, long story short, we cuffed them.
Yep.
3-0. Now,
I remember it well.
Can either of you boys remember any of the scorers from that game, or any of our listeners?
Dev Mackay, one of the McLennan brothers, possibly Roddy, the younger of the two.
Spot on. Great knowledge.
Was there a third, or did somebody get a double?
Somehow Dave Mackay managed to get 2 goals.
There we go.
That game.
There we go.
And then we subsequently got relegated. So that hype went very quickly.
So you're telling us to subdue our enthusiasm somewhat?
Somewhat, yeah.
Right, so Mr. Positive is no longer positive.
A realist.
Right, okay, so we're realism. Right, no. Okay. It probably comes to talking about, obviously we've mentioned all the incomings. There have been players that have left the club, very popular players, some moving on to other clubs, some obviously one in particular is retired. Finding, I think, replacements for these guys was seen as a big task, and it, in particular, I don't think it's unfair to say Ray Grant being the kind of pinnacle to that discussion. Ray was a fantastic player for us from day one. I don't think he had many bad games.
No, Mr. Consistency.
Yeah, and he was a highly intelligent player, and it showed. I think he'll do great for Alloa. This is the opposite. Our loss is very much their gain. However, that's not to say any of the boys that come in won't fill the gap. Very much support them to do so. Any other thoughts, obviously, on the guys that have left? They're heroes in our eyes, obviously, because they were promotion-winning players.
Well, Grant, obviously, as you've said in particular, I think is a massive loss. And when it first happened, it was like raw. Was like, and I think obviously Allo, I think is a good move for him. I think that maybe even because they'll tend to be a lot more defensive in that.
Yeah, they're not going to be favourites for many matches. Obviously, with being one of 2 part-time teams, I think, in the Championship.
Yeah, might be a busy boy.
Yeah, but he's very capable.
It allows him to showcase that. You know what I mean? I imagine he'll maybe be at Alloa for a season and then go even
Full
further.
time, yeah,
because he's one of the best players I've seen at Clyde Strip since. In fact, if not maybe, well, one of the best anyway. Top 2 since the sort of team that beat Celtic. You know what I mean?
That's high praise, and to be fair, that's consistent. I don't think many Clyde fans disagree with that. He came with, again, you could maybe flip it to compare it to the new guys that we've brought in. that at the time, I don't think many people really knew, other than the fact that he was Peter's son. I don't think many of us knew about what we were getting as a player, but it became evident pretty early we were getting a very, very good player. Obviously, he did have able support in the middle of the park in his time, two of which have also left. John Rankin retiring. It was fantastic to see him, obviously, before the curtailment of last season, getting back on the pitch. Fleeting appearances, but obviously he actually scored our last goal of last season against tomorrow's opponents.
What a way to celebrate it.
Yeah, I mean, that we could have sold a poster of that and made a million.
I believe there was a ladies' day coming up.
I mean, yeah, that was basically your advertising, quite frankly. But we'll see if we can get him back. He lives locally, Broadwood, I'm sure.
Aye.
But yeah, Ranks was a great player for us. Again, sorely missed last year at points. That experience that he's had, fantastic left foot as well. He wasn't bad with his right foot either. But yeah, fantastic player. Chris McStay as well, gents. Thoughts on Chris's time?
Yeah, I think Chris did really well for us over a number of years. That driving force from midfield. Again, maybe a little inconsistent at times, but much like Mark Lamont, you knew if he was on his game, he was a world beater.
He was on it.
Yeah, remember a game against Dumbarton away from home last season? He just took the game by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah.
I believe it was the 2-1 game that we came back. He turned that game massively. Mm-hmm. I think he will be a miss, but being similar to Lamont, I think Lamont can come in.
Yeah, and do a similar job anyway.
And we've got the young boy from St Mirren, Henderson, who I think comes with very high praise indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he can fill in.
I agree with you. I think that like Lamont has that ability, but I also think that Cuddy can also, if Bain frees up Cuddy for the back, Cuddy can move into middle part. I think he can sort of do a lot of those things that McStay was good at.
Yeah, I think we always forget that Cuddy's actually came to the club as a midfielder because it's
made that right back position his own.
Yeah, it almost looked natural in that position on the whole. There was never any issues with it. Other kind of outgoings, obviously, there's been quite a few. You've got obviously Kieran Duffy wasn't without his injury issues. Unfortunately for him, that's kind of plagued his career.
Yeah.
Sadly, Ross Lyon always kind of was Mr. Dependable when he came in, turned into a right back as well, quite strangely. Falkirk away, I think the Darren Smith game, if we can call it that.
Yep.
Ross Lyon was immense at right back. I just remember I strangely was focused on that position, thinking, are they going to look at that and go, he's not normally a right back. He was fantastic the whole game. Like, he'd played there his whole career. So yeah, any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I think losing Duffy for me was one of the ones I would maybe looked at keeping him on. I know a lot of Clyde fans maybe don't agree with that, but for me, I think when he came in and was asked to do a job, he did a good job. There's multiple games I can think of where he was asked to cover right back, and that boy put in a shift.
Yeah,
and that's really all you can ask for, coming in like that. So, and a few interviews with Danny as well last season praised Duffy for having a very good attitude and really helping out in the dressing room, which is part of it. So
yeah, and I think there's a big emphasis, I think, on the dressing room with Danny and Alan. They are very keen on making sure that the atmosphere and the right players are filled. It's not just about ability. You've got to be the right type of person too. So having that ethic certainly stands you in a good way in Danny and Alan's minds. Anything else on the kind of player turnover side? So what to cover?
Well, I actually would disagree with you there about Duffy. I think, I did like Duffy, and if financially viable, I would have kept both him and Lyon on. But I've always been a big fan of Ross Lyon. I feel that he's underappreciated to an extent.
He offered a bit of variety as well. He could play in a kind of attacking midfield role. Nice wee link there, Nick, mentioning finance. So yeah, obviously the kind of looking at the wider picture. Obviously, the players we bring in, it will always be dictated to by what the club can and can't afford. We're no different than any other club in that regard. This time, it's just everything's a wee bit more stressful. I think it's fair to say. Off-field matters are driven by something that nobody can control. Not knowing when we were even getting football back was... It seems off to say painful, considering obviously what is going on in the world right now. But football can mean so much to different people. It can be a get out. It can be that weekly relief, even if you're not there in person, following your team from afar. Obviously, we've got a lot of kind of expats, Clyde fans around the globe, even just south of the border down in England. So these guys will hopefully get that back now, with the match being tomorrow. Unfortunately, it doesn't look as though fans in grounds is going to be happening anytime soon. Do you feel that's going to make much of a difference at our level? Or I know there's some talk, maybe down south, and even I think maybe early doors up here in the top flight, that they think it's maybe been more a leveller, maybe for some clubs. I think some think that they're struggling without fans. I think Celtic will be mentioned. You could probably mention Liverpool and Man United. Didn't exactly have the best weekends there either. So, do you see it being much of an issue up here, other than financially?
I think that it could be, because I think that there's been a lot of cases where we've taken like a decent away support, and Danny Lennon's commented on that himself, that fans are very often like the 12th man. I think we've got the, like, again, like, I trust completely in what Danny Lennon and Alan Moore are doing. I think they're more than capable of whipping the players into shape and having that drive there all the time, regardless whether there's fans there or not. But I do think it must play an issue. You know what I mean? Because you've seen how players have celebrated with fans the last couple of years.
And that link between the fans and players that has been kind of synonymous with this, I would go far as saying. In recent times, it's been a breath of fresh air, and I think we have helped carry the players over the line at times, and at points where matches just look lost. I mean, how many times have we came back from 2-3 goal deficits to either get a point, if not win the match, in Danny Lennon's time? And I think a lot of that has been fan driven. Not that I'm not taking away from the players here. You guys still need to obviously do the so to speak. But obviously, having us behind your back certainly, I hope, helps.
Yeah, it's a very vocal support, and as you've mentioned, Danny's praised it multiple times in statements. Financially, I think obviously it would hurt clubs if there's no other options, but with clubs starting to get streaming services in and pay to watch kind of services, I feel that will bring back some of the gate receipts. Which it's refreshing for not just us but the whole of Scottish football, because we need the league structures.
Yeah, I mean, do we think that maybe mindsets, and this is maybe just more a general term rather than just Clyde, but do we think that a lot of clubs will maybe look at how things are done going forward, maybe looking to stream more to wider audiences, obviously where licenses allow that, but as maybe just a possibility for other income streams?
I think in a way it's like that is maybe the one good thing to come out of this, is that clubs like ourselves included that didn't have these streaming sites. Obviously, like, I think Wraith and East Fife and that have had something in there.
A few teams I think in our league that have got like their own TV.
Yeah,
so to speak.
It should be good in terms of even like just the lower leagues as like a product. Like there's a lot of like podcasts. There's actually quite a lot of podcasts and like focusing on the Scottish lower leagues, both like club specific and like wider ones. So hopefully it should, like, they're already fantastic. and it should hopefully like improve the coverage of those leagues from both that podcast, but also like newspaper coverage, and like there's new magazines in that are out like covering it, like Stonewaller and stuff like that. So like hopefully like the fact that it's not just people aren't just relying on highlights to like assess games or maybe able to watch more of games and whatnot. It should hopefully just improve the product, because it is fantastic.
I think we do. Maybe it's a Scottish psyche. We do talk our game down more often than not, but some of the games I know, obviously been a Clyde fan for so long now, that some of the games that we've watched over the years have just been mental at times. Like, there's no other words for it.
Absolute scenes.
Just, I mean, you go back to it would have been the relegation playoff final against Alloa. And Lynn, she was heavily pregnant at the time, and I've never been so scared twofold watching Clyde, one from facing relegation in the face to thinking, oh God, LSA Labour here, because she's not the quietest at games.
Really?
Wouldn't
have thought that, Paul.
Been mentioned once or twice. But yeah, like some of the games and the product is there, and it's about selling it. And I think having something like a streaming service, again, I don't know what the licence rules, etc. for that would be, but if it's a viable possibility, I don't see why clubs wouldn't look to do it.
Especially if you price it well as well. Like, there's obviously the fear that if you stream it, folk aren't going to bother coming to the games. But if it's priced like similarly to a ticket, people are still going to go to the game, because like for the most part anyway. If anything, it just makes it more accessible to maybe folk that can't go to the games for distance reasons, or like folk that are like unwell and stuff like that. And that's even more of an issue now.
Yeah, I think in the current climate as well, people are more than happy to pay maybe more than what it would have been, without the COVID situation, because we've got the different areas of it and everything else. So yeah, I think having what my idea would be, right? I don't know if he's agree, but I would.
We're all taking notes here. Boys, he's getting an idea.
Get your notepads out. I would love to have a Netflix for the Scottish Law Leagues on demand.
What would you name it? Keep it clean, because remember, this is an official, hopefully official podcast, so this...
I'll get back to you.
Aye, okay.
But no, I think, as Nick's mentioned, that kind of product, would do really well with a lot of fans, and I think having a platform for that would make clubs good money.
Yeah, obviously I think the statistic that's mentioned a lot when it comes to Scottish football and fans in Scottish football is that it makes up like a population of something like 44% or something. Like, I can't remember the exact stat, but it's one of the best supported leagues out there per population. It's insane. And yeah, people probably look at League 1 and League 2 attendances and go, well, there's maybe 500 there, 600 there. But those 500 or 600 people could be getting treated to an absolute belter of a football match. Mm-hmm. Really could. I mean, you look at the 3-3 match Peterhead the year before, promotion winning season, and that was just insane. It just about had everything that you could think to have. You had world class goals from young Scott Banks, penalty calls, and all sorts in a 3 each match from two teams fighting out for a title. Yeah, it could have been pay-per-view in my opinion, and it should have been.
I mean, I remember that game. I had taken a few of my good friends to that for the first Clyde game, and
have they been back since?
They have been back.
Good,
and that's that product we talk about. It gets people back on
got
seats.
A season card yet? What I say?
They haven't. I'll need to get onto them. Should we talk about season cards?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I mean,
smooth.
Yeah.
No, take it away. Take it away. Season cards. What are you thinking?
Well,
do you like them?
On the season cards, I think it's a great initiative from the club. It's the forefront of that kind of idea.
Yeah, it's fresh as well. I think that's the main thing I took from it. It was a fresh idea. No one else in Scotland, I think, is doing similar, or certainly weren't at the time that we launched the season card. I like the flexibility that it gives. Obviously, in these times, we don't know how the season's going to play out, or whatever the situation with COVID, etc., will mean for football. So that ability for people to be able to maybe take it back at the end of the season, or put it towards next season's season card when things might and hopefully will be far more regular. So from that side of things, I think it's pretty positive for me. I don't know what you guys think. I don't want to just sit and sing its praises, sound like I'm advertising, but yeah, I think it's a great product and a great sell from the club.
Yeah,
I think I agree with you in the flexibility. I think also being able to spend it across the board.
Yeah,
like last season, like I took, when I had extra tickets or whatever, I took some of my friends last season. So that's something I will miss, is maybe like bringing folk that don't usually come to the games or whatever.
You can though. You can use your season card for more than one person.
I know, but that means that's like money will be going towards like a new top or something like that.
Then you can top it up as you go out the season, or get your mates to give you the money to top it up.
Maybe I will.
There we go, right.
Almost sounds like a plug. Almost sounds
I'm not
like
getting paid for this either, I should say. Obviously, we've not just got the new season card. There are our other initiatives. I'll put my teeth in and try that again. Other initiatives, such as the 1877 rewards. Obviously, you get different tiers, and depending on how much you pay, as a kind of donation, you will get something in return. Various kind of, the more you give, the better prize you get, essentially. Again, in a time where clubs are looking for money and income streams, it's good that I think we're maybe bucking the trend and we're actually giving back as well. It's not just that we really need money, because every football club needs money. So what's going to make us different? Well, we'll give you something back for giving us that money. I mean, it seems such a simple concept, but I do think there's not much else out there that kind of resembles it.
No, I think for me one of the really good initiatives we do is the Bully Wee Fund, the 200. The money raised from that is very good because of the uptake, and it also rewards fans with that excitement of the half-time draw.
And the fact that you won it when you were in Amsterdam has nothing to do with that.
I don't remember that, Paul. That was a good time. We managed to persuade the barman to watch the Clyde game, and I think he's a Clyde fan now.
It was a Motherwell match, wasn't it?
It was the Motherwell match, yeah. So bought everyone in the bar a pint. There was
that makes a change.
There was 7 of us.
Yeah, so obviously the general finance of the club here, we also did have the donations page that was set up, which raised in excess of 20,000, which is no mean feat.
Great.
It's fantastic that, again, the fans never let the club down. We've always rallied behind them, and they appreciate that, and I do genuinely believe that. Going forward, how things are going to look, I don't know. Nobody knows. Preferably getting fans in the ground, but obviously we do have streaming. What are your thoughts in with regards to just watching it from your living room? Does it break your heart? It breaks mine.
For me, it's something. Like I think watching it on a phone, updating scores it would kill me.
Yeah, and no offence to the Twitter guys, it's not the same. It's not the same.
No. I think the streaming service is going to be really good, and hopefully once the guidelines are improved, we can have some.
Well, these scientists get us a vaccine.
Some sort of watch parties on the science. Maybe.
Well, fingers crossed.
We'll be positive.
Yeah, it's okay. We're back to positivity. That's good. You've left your realism at home now.
Fun now.
So yeah, obviously we don't really know what is going to be the case for the rest of the season, but with the kind of wheeling and dealing that's been done, kind of comparing us to a degree where we can against our 9 oppositions this season. How do you feel it's going to go? Get your mystic ball out and give us a prediction. How are we feeling?
I think playoffs. I would in a way I would almost be disappointed.
Clarify, I'm assuming we're talking promotion here.
Oh well, promotion playoffs.
Okay. Just in case.
It wasn't even in
Voices.
my mind.
I was edging back in this. Excuse me.
Mr. Negative nearly took you out there. Or Mr. Positive, I should say. Sorry.
It's okay. No worries.
But I think that I would be disappointed if we didn't. I thought maybe before, like the sort of wave of signings we've had in the last month or so, I was a bit worried because there's loads of clubs around us that are strengthening quite well, but all of a sudden they don't frighten me as much.
Good.
So I feel really, really positive at the moment. Again, as I keep saying, I trust completely in what Danny Lennon and that are doing, so I can't see why not. I can't, like, I guess that there's clubs that are full time in that and maybe spending a bit more money than us, but there was clubs doing that in
last year
League
and it
Two
didn't necessarily work for them. So yeah, I would agree. I don't see there's any, with it being a shorter season, I think the start is going to be far more important than it ever has been. You really need to try and hit the ground running. Obviously, we've got 2 League Cup games before. Yeah, 2 League Cup games before the actual league starts against Partick. So it would be nice to get a good run of victories to really kick off. Obviously, we want to beat Partick, so that goes without saying anyway. But I think getting points on the board is going to be really important because it will, more than ever, point you to where you're going to go this year, because you've got 27 games. And yeah, there's still a lot of points, but things can go south pretty quick if you don't get those points on the board.
You want that quick start, you want that confidence.
Yeah, I mean, you look at,
do well.
I think, was it Montrose last year? They started off a really tough start. I don't think they, maybe 1 win in 9 or something, and from the first kind of quarter of fixtures, and then you look at them for the rest of the year, you don't have that safety net, if you will, this year, where you've got a good run, and we don't know if it will continue. Hopefully it will. The season, it doesn't get paused at any point. Boise, are you going to continue being positive or realistic?
Am I going to sit here and say that we're going to win the league?
Yes.
I would like to, but I think, much like Nick, I think, we've got Danny Lennon, we've got Alan Moore, in my opinion, the best management duo in the lower leagues. And I think with them, with the squad that we've got on paper, obviously it's difficult to tell the new signings and how they're going to do. I've seen a few highlights, things look good.
Yep.
Mine would be definitely playoffs. Promotion playoffs. Just to
clarify.
Saw your face there. Just to double check. But yeah, I think we can definitely do, good things this season. Reports from the players are very good. Mm-hmm. The boy Lloyd Robertson is apparently going to be very good.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll just need to wait and see. But I think 3rd, 4th I would take, because I don't think there's any teams that, as Nick's mentioned, scare me with their signings. Maybe Falkirk, but you would expect them to learn from their mistakes and kind of go for that.
From a Clyde perspective, hopefully not against us at least, and we can continue recent form against Falkirk, not just in the League Cup, but obviously when it comes to league duty. Just probably look to wrap up, guys. Is there anything else you want to cover before we do? I mean, we've pretty broad variety of topics to kick us off on. As I say, hopefully our first of fortnightly Clyde chats.
I want to end with score predictions for tomorrow's game.
Oh.
Right, go for it. Are you want to take it first? Are we going scorers as well, or just Clyde scorers only?
Clyde scorers.
Yeah.
Clyde scorers only. Okay.
Right, boys, say shoot.
Going to go for a 2-0 win for Clyde. I think David Goodwillie with both. don't think there's any
You
surprise
get
there.
bonus points if you predict a Clyde victory that turns out that Goody doesn't score in. I'm also not keeping track of points.
Potentially. I think if anyone manages to pinpoint that game, he finally scores the overhead kick.
What do you
Then
mean?
they'd everything. he's trying. There was one time a couple of seasons ago where I had counted, and it was every second game he attempted it for the 30 games.
Be 89th minute against Thistle. On the
Oh,
17th.
Nick, that's the dream. That is the dream.
How do we feel about playing Partick Thistle again, boys?
Well, I think it's...
As we sit here with Partick Thistle coloured microphone covers.
Yeah,
we need to get that sorted.
We'll speak to the studio about that.
Yeah.
That's not happening again next time. Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, again, it's just watching it for the living room. It's going to be odd, but it's Clyde Partick Thistle. It's a match that every last one of our fans will be absolutely buzzing for.
Been wanting for a while. Yeah.
And if we do win it, they'll be able to hear us at Broadwood anyway. I would imagine.
Yeah.
They'll be able to hear me, I can guarantee that. Yeah, I can't wait. Hopefully, injury free through the first kind of League Cup ties. I think that'll be big, making sure we've got all our kind of big hitters, your Ross Cunninghams and Goodies, etc., Tom Lang, all fit for it. That spine of the team is on paper fantastic. I mean, obviously, we forget obviously Mitch in there as well, who's easily the best keeper in the league in my opinion.
Yeah, same here.
Can't be swayed on that, and that's not just the red, white and black tinted glasses. He's a fantastic goalkeeper. So yeah, keeping these guys fit, I think we'll give Thistle a game. I really do.
Yeah, I think for the artificial surface as well, I think that always plays a part. And yeah, much like you've said, I think if everyone stays fit and we have a right good go at them, I don't see why we can't come away with a win.
We're back to real positivity. I think that's the right tone to end this on. Unless, Nick, what about yourself? You want to have a wee stab at predicting, Dumbarton score?
I will. I think 3-1 Clyde. I think Goodwillie and Cunningham will both score, and I think if Sivertson plays, he'll score as well.
Next one. Who's losing the man for the corner that they get their consolation from? Bleep this out. No.
It won't be Rumsby.
Is that it?
It's my prediction. It won't be Rumsby. It's as simple as that, Paul.
I thought you were going to fill out on that. Right. I think I'm going to go... I'll go tentative 2-0. Yeah, but I do think if we get an early goal, I wouldn't rule us out hitting 3 or more.
I like it.
Or more.
Like it.
I'm going there. Yeah, so we shall wrap it up there, gents. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for whoever's listening. Hopefully you are, and it's not just our partners. Saying you've done well, boys. Thank you. Well done. So yeah, hopefully first of many fortnightly Clyde chats. Next time round we'll be able to review some football. Thank God.
Review some wins.
Review some positive wins.
That's it.
And obviously looking forward to the next set of matches when the time comes. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for your time, and we shall speak to you next time.
On the Billy Ray.
On the
Exactly. On the Clyde.